Hello, welcome to Flutterbug Auto. Today I'm talking about my second favorite game in the TrackMania series, TrackMania Sunrise. TrackMania Sunrise was the second game in the series, released in 2005, and it was one of my first experiences with the series. I have my uncle to thank for my interest in TrackMania. He installed demos for both the first game and Sunrise on my grandma's computer for me when I was like 8 or 9, as well as some kind of Barbie game. I don't remember if I even played the Barbie game, I just remember it existed. I just remember getting hooked on TrackMania. I played the heck out of those demos whenever I was at my grandma's house, which included only desert and island environments respectively, and only a handful of tracks and track pieces used when making tracks, but it was enough for me to have tons of fun, especially as a little kid. And now, 20 years later, I've finally been checking out the full games, Sunrise in particular, and wow, there's a lot I like about this one compared to the rest of the series. I think this game is the most of its time period out of the series. I think the rest of TrackMania has a largely timeless feeling to it, but this one definitely feels very cemented in the mid-2000s. The setting, the cars, the tone are all very 2000s. Like, I remember this type of tropical beach or California type aesthetic being very common at the time, as well as like the extreme sports and skater vibes. Like, the bay environment feels like a half skate park. And as mentioned, the car designs are very of the period. The coast and bay cars are both pretty much directly 2004 car models, and the island car reflects common design choices for supercars of the period as well. And like, this will sound kind of unhinged, but stick with me. The game reminds me of a 2000s shoe store. The game has a shoe store aesthetic. I'm not sure exactly where that association comes from in my head. Maybe it's the music, maybe it's just the general ambience, but it makes me think of walking around a shoe store in the mid-2000s. But yeah, like, this game is 20 years old, and it really still looks beautiful. They did such a wonderful job with the colors and the feel of everything. I still really love the look of this game. In some ways, I think the art design outdoes the later renditions of these environments in United Forever, honestly. Everything just pops and feels so vibrant. Like, they called this game Sunrise for a reason. The sunrises and sunsets in this game are absolutely fucking gorgeous. Like, every time of day in this game is. For instance, I like how in the nighttime setting, you can still see the last, or maybe first bit of sunshine peeking in. It's just stunning, honestly. Oh, and of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the light trails. This game loves those, and so do I. They're so much fun and still exist in the series to this day, but they were definitely the most prominent in this one. So they're always a sunrise thing in my head. The terrain geometry looks decidedly very blocky and not that great though. That also persisted into its United incarnation, so it's kind of just like that. This game also really cemented the fantastical elements of the series, particularly with the island environment with its big over-the-top and totally gorgeous curving roads, and wall rides, and just frankly absurd speed, and huge jumps, and all those sorts of things. I think out of the three environments in this game, Island is really the standout. It's so fast and exciting, and as mentioned, absolutely gorgeous. I think it's honestly my favorite environment in the entire series. I have, so far, never managed to get tired of it in the last 2 decades. Besides the super wide roads and wall rides, it's also got some really fun set pieces, like fancy hotels and airports, and even like rocket ships. It's great. I always love the way TrackMania lets you set up tracks to places you normally wouldn't drive. Like, you can race through an airport or like a NASA base or flying over buildings. It's really amazing. And then we have the bay environment, which, as mentioned, it feels very skate park inspired with the types of track pieces it uses. Lots of half pipes and these wild like metal mesh things that don't really have much real world counterpart but are absolutely fitting with those vibes, you know? Looks very extreme sports and skater vibes to me. I always like this one for the big city aesthetic and the secondary like cargo dock location it's got going on. It's such a wonderful mix of things, and while more down to earth than island, it still has those fantastical vibes going on too, which I really enjoy. And lastly, we have Coast, which is sort of a chill Californian vibe. Though in reality, I think it's meant to be more of a Mediterranean coast, of course. But it makes me think of California, especially with its little villages and choice of car. And this might also sound a bit unhinged, but it has a slight Barbie vibe to me. Like, I could imagine Barbie driving this car and hanging out here, you know? You get my vision? Coast is by far the most grounded environment here, and honestly in the entire series, exemplified by its inclusion of like real-world racetrack-style track pieces, and also the handling on the car is the closest the series ever gets to sim racing. In the Coast environment, you really have to pay attention to racing lines lines and carefully time your braking and acceleration as you go through corners. And the speeds are a lot more reasonable than like Island. Like, this is honestly the slowest environment in the series, which is a really funny juxtaposition because it was introduced alongside Island, which is basically the fastest one in the series. But as down to earth and slower paced as it is, you can do plenty of great TrackMania shenanigans in it still. So yeah, honestly, this game just absolutely oozes style, and it's an absolute joy to play. Oh, and of course, if you're playing the older entries in the series, you cannot sleep on the other game modes, especially platform is a ton of fun in my opinion. I like the way they make you think about the game and its mechanics in different ways sometimes. Like for example, this one platform track I've played, where there's this narrow platform you have to land on, and it's really tricky to do consistently. And I realized that I could do it more consistently by crashing on purpose into the side of the checkpoint, and like, I love that. It's so funny that intentionally crashing can end up as a good option. And it was such a totally different way of thinking about the game. Platform mode was in all of the games up until United, so definitely go try that out sometime. Also in all the games was stunt mode, and it feels like such a product of its time. It's a very Tony Hawk Pro Skater type of thing, where you get points for doing flips and spins in the air and stuff like that, and all the tricks have names. It's not really my thing, but I love that they came up with doing this kind of thing with cars, and it's just so silly and so quintessentially TrackMania to me. A lot of people, I think, are kind of dismissive towards the first couple TrackManias because all of their environments came back and were given new track parts and increased visual fidelity in TrackMania United, and also, of course, because United is still officially supported to this day. But also, like, the environments are different there. The vibe is different. There's some small but fundamental changes to the visual design that really change the identity, I think. As mentioned earlier, I think the presentation is actually a lot more vibrant in Sunrise. And also, of course, the music plays no small part in that as well. Sunrise has a great soundtrack full of 2000s like dance, pop, and electronic music, and it fits the vibe perfectly. In fact, I would say it does a lot in creating that vibe, while the music in United has changed to be more in line with Nation's soundtrack, and there's definitely something lost in terms of the original aesthetic. Like, for instance, Coast originally had that kind of chill beach vacation vibe, well, in United, it has like a spy film type of vibe for some reason. And again, like, that's not necessarily a bad change, but it's definitely different. Like, it does sort of fit the car and the location, but it creates a different vibe than you felt with the original version of Coast. This is one of my all-time favorite racing game soundtracks ever, honestly, as evidenced by the fact that I'm talking about it right now. You may have noticed that I don't even usually comment on soundtracks, though I always like to include them as the background music in my videos, so that's how you know this one really stood out to me. Also, if you'll humor me for a moment, I have a silly little tangent about one of the songs in this game called 10,000 Eyes by the band Hajira. It's the song used for the intro as well as one of the songs in the Bay environment, and like, nobody has properly transcribed lyrics that I was able to find. Like, I know it's an obscure song, mostly only known for being in this game, but like, this is awful. And like, the start of the song they wrote, "Flicking through my morning dictionary." I'm like, what the fuck is a morning dictionary? Like, oh, let me just sit down with my breakfast and my morning dictionary and check out some words to get my day started. Like, I think it's obviously modern dictionary. Looking through my modern dictionary for free, you know, etc. Okay, and then they have the line, "'cause your dictated clause." And again, like, what? It's obviously "cut your dictating clause," followed by "they're getting la 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 long, la 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 long." And like, that makes sense, right? Cut your claws, because they're getting long. But they wrote, "they get it law." They get it la 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 la. As in like, the law. It's just kind of nonsensical. Anyway, I just thought that was really funny. And also, like, Sunrise has different tracks than United, and they're a lot of fun. I've been enjoying them quite a lot, and some of them have some really clever ideas going on. And also, it's fun that they're all named, whereas in United, they're all just numbered, like Island A1 and Island A2, etc. There's definitely something to be said for the way that the tracks having titles can help set up the tone and expectation for them in a fun little way. Like, sometimes they even have a hint as to how you're supposed to approach the track. So yeah, United Forever is great. I played that game a ton growing up myself, but I think there's definitely plenty of reason to go check out the older games still too. I notice a lot of TrackMania coverage comes from hardcore or professional players, so I hope that my coverage of these games can help like demystify the games a little bit too. Help them feel a bit more approachable to people who've never played them before. Cause like underneath the hardcore competitive aspect is still a super fun and charming racing series. Anyone can jump in and have fun with it, I think. There's so much lovingly crafted design here to appreciate, even if you're not going for competitive times. In general, I really like looking at the art and design of racing games as the main focus of this channel. It's not something I see often when it comes to racing games, but there's a lot there to appreciate in the artistry of racing games, I think. As mentioned at the beginning, this is my second favorite, with my favorite being Turbo. That game is my favorite thanks mostly to its style and presentation. This one is second favorite because I think after Turbo, it has the most style out of the rest of the series. And it's really fun too, of course. I totally recommend this one, especially if you want a great dose of 2000s aesthetic. But also it's just a great racing game on its own. All three of the environments are really fun, and I enjoy them all for their little, or not so little, differences in handling and aesthetic. So yeah, as always, I've got more racing content coming up soon, and also I've got some more TrackMania stuff to cover in the future as well. I hope you'll look forward to that, and I'll see you soon.